Hey, Control the Trade here, back after a long hiatus from making videos, but I had to make this one after the day that Alibaba had, and the way that my chart was set up for this, it's unbelievable. I wish I had a date where I could show when these lines were drawn, but the orange dotted lines I refer to as important numbers on the chart. And I started tweeting about this early during pre-market. Let's take a look. So this was at 7:45 a.m. Eastern. Bob is heading toward that juicy gap. 230 is important. Getting below that, when hourly closes, could see a flush towards 225 down to 223.77-ish. Now that story started to develop as we started to see 230 not being important anymore. Pre-market, it really started to test that low. And once we realized it was not even opening up above 230, and that's when we were looking at the next levels. So we'll keep looking at the tweet, but let's go back. This is just remarkable to me. Look at the open. Now on my other chart, I had the open as 229.90, but it's showing here 228.24, 229.90, 10 cents below the level of 230. If that doesn't tell you that charting works, then I guess I'm the luckiest guy in the world. You don't just come up with this stuff. You don't just guess. And yeah, I don't even know what news was associated with this. Somebody even tweeted that to me. They said, hey, aren't you worried about such and such news? You can say, it's good to know the news. I want to know catalysts, but I don't really care about the news unless it's some black swan event. And maybe this is, but the numbers were still working. And take a look below. Look at this. 211.70 was that's like the emergency support area, which I never thought it would get there that day. I thought maybe 215. I thought it would come short of the 211.70, maybe 213. But it just took like a huge spike, and we can look at the 10-minute chart. But look, all it did, if you go back here, this is a former breakout area. It filled some gaps. Whatever the news was, the chart did what it's going to do. It filled these gaps, came down to support. We'll call it my support here, almost less than 50 cents away, and then it ended up pretty much right in between. So let's take a look at that. Let's look at the rest of this tweet. Okay, so looking at the rest of this tweet, we can see getting close, spiking down. The more velocity, the greater the trampoline support. But there was no velocity at that point. We hit the 230, it had minor support, and then we were going to the next level. 230 is super important. Look at the 10-minute close at 8:30. Let's do that. So here's that 10-minute chart. There's a typo. Here's that 10-minute chart we were talking about. Let's go to 8:30 now. I don't suggest people trade in the pre-market, but it's good to get some clues from the pre-market. There's lower volume in the pre-market, but it's still, when a stock is on the move, you want to be aware of it. I started to short this as soon as I could trade at 7 a.m. And 230 was my exit area, just above that, just to be conservative. I've gotten screwed too many times trying to be too precise by the penny, which is never a winning strategy. So here's the candle I was referring to in the tweet. High was 230. Closed 229.99. That area is definitely important. Here, let's keep going. I think we had another 230 around here as well. Let's see. Here's an interesting one. The high here, 229.90. That's at 9:30. That's what I was talking about before. I thought that was the open. It was actually the high. So, 10 cents away from that, what was support is now resistance. When that happens, it gives me confidence that this was charted correctly, accurately, whatever you want to call it, or just a high probability area that the market would come back to. And that's how I trade. I look for areas that they could be psychological areas, they could be important breakout areas, breakdown areas of high probability that the market and price will revisit, and that was one of them. The other one, 211.70. So you can see we started flushing down. And then this candle probably knocked out a lot of stop outs right here, and then a lot of panic. And then I actually below 211.70 was like, what is going on here? I figured we'd get a bounce just above that, 212, 213. If we took a longer look back at the chart, which I'll do in a second, but then look at this next 10-minute candle. We get a reversal candle. What do I mean by that? This candle closed the high, or the close, 215.44, was closed above the high of this candle, and that's definitely bullish. And then we started to take off, and then this was our next obstacle here. The high was 218.59. Once we passed that, we're on to the next phase. the next stage, like a stair step. Now, I believe if we had a full day in the market that day, I think we would have challenged all the way up here, probably somewhere around 226, 225, probably 225. I bet it would have closed around 225 if we had a full day. So let's take a look what I was talking about now. Let's get a broader view of the chart, like on a 1 year. I tend to have a lot of lines drawn, a lot of old lines, but I tend to not delete them. I revisit them. I make sure they're still important. But you can see these kind of zones that I've created, and this one was, it couldn't have been any more perfect. I mean, maybe it was to the penny of the zone that Baba visited in one trading day. And look at the volume. So we're going to know a lot more about this when it opens up on Monday. Where's it going to go? I mean, it did spring back pretty nicely from that low, but a move like that is still very bearish. We're below all the moving averages. We just sliced through everything. You can see we did fill some gaps here. So let's see if it makes another challenge down around 212, 213. If it starts to break above 230, I mean, look at, you have a lot of runway here up to the 200 period moving average. And then below, we still have some old gaps and breakout areas down here. Again, it wouldn't surprise me if we started to go, if we get below 200, then I'm going to be ready with my alerts down here, no doubt, because I think there will be plenty of support at 185, somewhere around there. But we're going to have to take it one candle at a time, one day at a time. This one was just fascinating to me, that the way it opened, the way it played. If I could chart like this every single time, I mean, trading will be much more enjoyable, obviously, and I'm going to keep working at it. Hope you keep working at it. Just have to keep learning every day. And remember, don't let the trade control you.